All right, so get this. Today we're doing a deep dive into Nicholas Drake's LinkedIn profile. And, just the sources you gave me, this is going to be interesting. I mean, entrepreneur, musician, and he works at USC. It's like, how do all those things even fit together?
Right. It's a pretty unique combo.
That's for sure. One thing that immediately caught my eye was this tagline he's got on his profile.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it says, entrepreneurial and small business operations at the University of Southern California. Like, I don't know about you, but that doesn't exactly sound like your average university employee.
No, not really. Usually you see people highlighting, their specific skills or like the area they work in. But this is more like a statement. Like he's saying, hey, I'm here to shake things up.
Right.
It makes me think he's approaching this USC job with a totally different mindset.
You think so?
Yeah, like maybe he's looking to innovate, change things from the inside. Or maybe even he sees this as just one step in a much bigger plan.
Interesting. Well, speaking of his role at USC, he's currently the Campus Welcome Services lead. But get this, he only started there a few months ago as a customer service representative.
Wow, that's a quick promotion.
It is. What do you make of that? Like, what does that tell you about him?
Well, first of all, it definitely screams ambition. You don't climb the ladder that fast unless you're really driven.
Right.
Like, he's got to be a fast learner, taking initiative, showing leadership. It takes a certain kind of personality to make that kind of move so quickly.
Okay, so we've got ambition checked off the list, but then there's this whole other side to him, the entrepreneurial side. He's got this company called So West Coast, and their tagline, oh man, get ready for this,
Okay.
says, we are not limited to any one service. Anything can be done. And honestly, looking at their website, they seem to really mean it.
Wow, that's quite a statement.
Yeah, they do everything from writing and brand design to digital marketing and business consulting. I mean, it's a lot.
It is. I guess it could be a good thing, right? Shows they're adaptable, willing to take on anything. In today's world, that can be a real asset.
Sure, but isn't there a risk there too? Like, can you really be an expert in everything?
That's the potential downside, yeah. When you're trying to be everything to everyone, sometimes you end up being nothing to no one.
Right.
Clients might wonder, okay, are they really the best at what they do if they're doing, like, a million different things?
That's a good point. And here's where things get even more interesting. In 2017, Nicholas also founded a nonprofit called No Missed Opportunities.
Really?
Yeah, and their mission is to make the community better. Now,
Oh.
I know that sounds super broad, but then when you look at what they actually do, it's a pretty wide range. They've got volunteer programs, food drives, a music program, even some online education stuff. It's almost like, I don't know, this scattered energy, but in a good way. What do you think?
Yeah, I see what you mean. Especially coming from someone who seems so, intentional about his personal brand. That tagline, to make the community better, it's almost overly simplistic, isn't it? But maybe that's the point. Maybe with the nonprofit, he's not going for this like super polished image. It's more about just getting things done, having a real impact at a grassroots level.
Well, it's less about marketing and more about genuine community involvement.
Exactly. Which raises another interesting question. How does he balance all of this? The for-profit businesses, the nonprofit, his job at USC. Is it all working together? Or could that broad focus on community impact actually be like holding him back in other areas?
Ooh, good question. And get ready for this next part
Bundle.
because this is where things get really wild. Nicholas is also a publisher with Apple.
Whoa, really?
Yeah, and he's involved with a ton of different stuff there. Apple services, books, events, video, Apple TV. He even mentions music production and artist management.
That's a lot.
I know, right? What do you make of that?
Well, to me, that's a pretty clear sign that he's interested in tech, like really interested.
Yeah.
Yeah, and not just using technology, but understanding how it works, how it can reach people. Apple is a global platform, so it makes sense that he'd be drawn to that.
Right.
And it also makes me wonder, is he using this experience to learn from the best? Like, is he strategically positioning himself for something bigger down the line?
It's like he's playing the long game here.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about his experience, but what about his actual thoughts? Let's move on to something I found really fascinating. His contributions on LinkedIn. He's not just building a profile, he's actually engaging in conversations, sharing his unique perspective. For example, there's this one post where he talks about bouncing back from failure in VR.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, he really emphasizes resilience, that no pain, no gain mentality. Then there's another one about influencer marketing where he talks about the importance of authenticity, like really understanding the brand and connecting with people on a human level. not just chasing followers.
I like that.
And then there's this post about crafting successful presentations. But it goes way beyond the usual tips and tricks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's talking about building mutually beneficial relationships, creating a strong value system. It's pretty deep stuff.
Wow.
So what do you think? What do these contributions tell you about how Nicholas approaches his work and the world in general?
Well, first of all, I think it shows that he's a resilient guy. He's not afraid to take risks, experiment, even fail publicly.
Right.
He sees those setbacks as opportunities to learn, which is super important in the entrepreneurial world.
Definitely.
And there's a strong emphasis on authenticity, like you said. It's not enough to just have a flashy presentation or a million followers. It's about building real connections, understanding your audience, and offering something of value. It's about substance over hype.
Exactly. And when you connect that back to all of his ventures, both for-profit and non-profit, it starts to paint a picture of someone who's really driven by impact. He wants to create something meaningful, something that makes a difference. And he's not afraid to go against the grain to do it.
That's a great point.
But wait, there's more. Remember how we were talking about his interest in technology, being on the cutting edge?
Yeah.
Well, he was also a Meta instructor. Yeah. And not only that, he was involved in private group beta testing for Messenger classes and the beta Facebook Reels invite program.
Wow, that's pretty impressive.
It is. So what does this tell us about his relationship with technology, especially in those early adopter communities?
Well, it shows he's not just using technology, he's actively shaping it.
Right.
Being involved in those beta programs means he's right there at the forefront of innovation.
Yeah.
He's trying to understand how these tools and platforms are going to change the way we communicate, the way we create content.
It's like he's not just an early adopter, he's a pioneer.
Exactly.
But what's driving that? Is it just curiosity, a desire to be ahead of the curve? Or is there something deeper going on here?
That's the million-dollar question, and it's a perfect segue into the next part of our deep dive.
I mean, it's almost like he's found this secret formula, for navigating between academia and entrepreneurship and technology and A&D community service. Seriously, how does he do it all?
Right. It's a lot to juggle.
It is. So what's the common thread here? What's the driving force behind all of these passions?
That's the big question, isn't it? It's like we're trying to understand the motivations of this, multi-dimensional human being. One possibility is that he's just driven by this deep desire to, make a positive impact on the world.
Yeah, I can see that.
We see it in his nonprofit work, his focus on social impact in those LinkedIn posts, even his role at USC, where he's shaping the experiences of incoming students. It's like he wants to leave his mark, make things better.
Yeah, and maybe he sees entrepreneurship as a way to amplify that impact.
Yeah.
To create something that can reach even more people.
Exactly. And maybe technology is the key to scaling that impact, connecting with a wider audience, building something truly transformative.
It's like he's creating this whole ecosystem of positive change.
Right. It's pretty inspiring.
It is. But let's get down to brass tacks here. What can we actually learn about his future aspirations from all of this? I mean, his LinkedIn profile is like this treasure map, clues scattered everywhere from his experience to those bold taglines.
Okay, so let's put on our detective hats. What clues are we seeing?
Well, for one thing, he's clearly fascinated by emerging technologies, especially VR and the metaverse.
Yeah, that's definitely a recurring theme.
Right. His experience with Meta, those LinkedIn posts about VR, even working at USC, which is known for its cutting-edge programs in that area.
It all adds up.
And then there's that tagline, entrepreneurial and small business operations. It's almost like he's signaling that he's not content with just working within the system. He wants to build his own system.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. So we've got this entrepreneurial spirit combined with a passion for technology and a commitment to social impact. It sounds like he could be building towards something really groundbreaking.
Okay, I'll bite. What are we picturing here?
Well, imagine this. A company that uses VR to create educational experiences for underserved communities.
Wow.
Or immersive simulations that help people develop empathy and understanding.
That's amazing.
Right. The possibilities are endless.
Okay, my mind is officially blown. But hold on, there's another piece to this puzzle that we can't forget. The musician.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
He mentions music production and artist management in his Apple experience. Could that be part of his grand plan as well?
Absolutely. Music is clearly a passion of his. I wouldn't be surprised if he somehow integrates that into his future ventures.
Like what? What are we thinking?
Well, maybe a music-related business that disrupts the traditional industry model.
Hmm.
Or using music as a tool for social change, creating art that inspires and uplifts.
Wow, okay, now my head is really spinning.
Right. It's exciting to think about.
It is. But let's not forget about his current role at USC. He's clearly on the fast track there, thriving in a leadership position.
Yeah, he is.
So, do you think he sees a future for himself at USC? Or is this just a stepping stone to something bigger?
That's the question, isn't it? It's definitely possible that he's happy building his career within the university. Maybe he'll aim for a senior leadership role or launch some groundbreaking new program.
Right. But it's also possible that he's using this time strategically, gaining experience, making connections, learning the ins and outs of large institutions.
Exactly. It's all valuable experience that he could apply to his own ventures down the line.
It's like he's playing 4D chess here.
Right. Making moves that might not make sense in the short term, but are all part of a bigger plan.
Okay, so we've explored his ambition, his diverse interests, his potential motivations. But what does it all mean for our listener? Like, what's the takeaway here?
Well, I think there are a couple of key things to remember. First, Nicholas's LinkedIn profile is a masterclass in personal branding.
Okay.
He's carefully crafted this narrative that showcases his skills, his experience, his unique perspective. And he's done it in a way that's both compelling and authentic.
I see that.
It's a reminder that your online presence is more than just a resume. It's an opportunity to tell your story, build your brand, and attract the right opportunities.
Yeah, it's like a digital tapestry, weaving together all the different threads of your life, your professional experience, your personal interests, everything.
Exactly. And Nicholas is a great example of how to do that effectively.
Right, and he also shows us that you don't have to fit into a box. It's okay to be passionate about multiple things, to blend your interests and create your own unique path.
Absolutely. It's about embracing who you are and letting that shine through.
But before we get too carried away with all the admiration, we have to ask, is this sustainable? Like, can one person really wear this many hats and actually be good at all of them?
Yeah, that's the big question.
Is he spreading himself too thin? Is he going to burn out or end up, not making a real impact in any one area?
It's a tough balance for sure.
It is. I mean, some people thrive on that, juggling a million different things.
Yeah, they get energy from it.
But others need that laser focus to really succeed. So what do you think? What does that mean for Nicholas?
Well, it's hard to say for sure.
Is this a recipe for success or disaster? What do you think, listener?
I guess only time will tell. It's definitely exciting to see someone pursuing all their passions like that.
It is.
But yeah, there are definitely potential pitfalls too.
So maybe he'll prove that you really can have it all.
Right. Maybe he'll master all these different areas and make a real impact in each one.
Or maybe he'll realize that focus is key.
Yeah, and he'll need to, streamline things to really reach his full potential.
Either way, it's going to be fascinating to watch his journey.
It really is.
Speaking of journeys, let's shift gears for a second and talk about you, our listener. What can you take away from all this, from this deep dive into Nicholas Drake's world?
Good question.
I mean, besides being totally blown away by his ambition, I think there's a really valuable lesson here about the power of a well-crafted online presence.
Absolutely. His LinkedIn profile is a perfect example of that.
It's not just a resume, it's a story.
Right. A carefully curated story that showcases his skills, his experiences, his unique perspective.
And he's strategically positioned himself as like a thought leader, an innovator, someone who's not afraid to break the mold.
Exactly. And it's clearly working for him.
Right. He's attracting opportunities, building a network, establishing himself as someone to watch.
So if you're looking to level up your own LinkedIn game, take some notes from Nicholas.
Yeah, think about the story you want to tell. What skills do you want to highlight? What impact do you want to make?
Don't be afraid to let your personality shine through. Show your passions, your interests, what makes you unique.
You never know who might be watching.
And remember, as a living document, your LinkedIn profile should evolve as you do.
So keep it updated, keep it engaging, and keep pushing those boundaries.
Well said.
All right, well, that's about it for our deep dive into the fascinating world of Nicholas Drake. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, it was a fun one.
We hope you learned a thing or two about ambition, impact, and the power of building a compelling online presence.
And hey, keep an eye on Nicholas's profile. Who knows what he'll do next?
Maybe he'll be leading the VR revolution, creating a global movement through music, or building a social impact empire.
Anything is possible with this guy.
One thing's for sure, it's going to be an exciting ride.
I can't wait to see what he does next.
Me neither.